11 new vehicles were sold in November compared to 4 at the same time in 2024. The number of new registration vehicles sold nationwide in November was down 25% on the same month last year. Meanwhile, despite the overall figure for the first 11 months of 2025 being above the number sold in all of 2024. With me to discuss all of this and to see what trends we might see in car sales in the new year, I'm joined on the line by Eddie Rynne, the General Manager of the Sheils Motor Group in Ennis, and from the Pierce Volkswagen Garage in Ennis, Gary Pierce. And Eddie and Gary, you're both very welcome to the show. Eddie, I'll start with yourself. When you look back on 2025 in terms of new car registrations, sales in Ennis and Clare, how would you describe last year?
Thank you, Alan. Would describe it as a good year. It came in, I think, as predicted. The predictions were about 125,000 new passenger vehicles being registered in 2025, and we were just, I think, about 17 units shy of that in total. So overall, a good year. A lot of changes, obviously a lot of changes in the stats, a lot of changes in the type of car people went for. Obviously, the EV type vehicle is up hugely nationally, and actually in Clare it's up 63% from 2025. So that's very, very pleasing to see.
Oh yeah, that is a very positive statistic, particularly, I suppose, because for quite a while, maybe that is dissipating, Eddie, there was a certain level of negativity around electric vehicles. Maybe people were more sceptical and still had more concerns around some of the issues like range anxiety and all of that. And there was the whole government's intention to have 1 million EVs on the road by 2030, and there was a lot of scoffing about whether that was going to happen. It still looks like a tall order, but there has been certainly improvement in people's view and desire to have an EV, from what you're saying.
Definitely, and we would have seen a huge improvement there in the attitude, I suppose, towards EVs in the last 18 to 24 months. A lot of that, I'd say, in fairness, is down to the manufacturers. They're like, okay, for starters, the EV vehicle is a lot more affordable now. It's a lot better. The batteries are much bigger, which obviously gives a much longer range. And I think the public are adapting to that, and they are getting a lot more confident when they see those type of stats. And obviously then a major concern maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago was resale value on EVs. That has improved hugely, especially I'd say in the last, as I say, 18 to 24 months. And that's the key factor also.
Okay, Gary Pierce, just to bring you in. Eddie, from this description of 2025, it sounds like it was quite good. Similar, would you agree? Was it similar from your perspective?
Yeah, it was. And thanks. I'd echo a lot of what Eddie said there. 2026 looks like it will be a slight improvement again, based on the new car orders we have at this moment in time. It looks like we may see a 5 to 10% increase in the market for 2026 from 2025. So all positive at the moment. And 2025, was a pretty good year, a solid year. I think the market has kind of settled in around the range, around the 125, 130,000 seems to be a stable market for Ireland. And that's I'm sure more of the same again for 26 with a slight increase, as I said.
And just to get your perspective on EVs, from what Eddie was saying there, sales are up. Do you agree that people's view or perspective on electric vehicles is changing? Maybe it's that they had a preconceived notion about them, and maybe then got one and it completely changed, or they knew someone who got one and waxed lyrical about them, and that has all contributed to an upward trend in sales of EVs.
Definitely. There's been loads of different factors. And to be honest, the main one that we're seeing now is that they're actually at a lower price point than their equivalent combustion engine car. So that seems to be driving it as well. There's great finance offers on them. And then people are more comfortable with the infrastructure. I mean, the motorways are really well serviced now. The ranges are long enough that most people's day-to-day driving, it's very suitable for the vast majority of people. They're not for everyone yet. People still have concerns. But those that have converted are really happy. The residual concern is kind of dissipated quite a lot as well. When Tesla dropped their prices back 3-4 years ago, that really kind of pushed the values of them down quite heavily, and the other manufacturers kind of went in tandem with that and had to reduce their prices. And now what we're seeing, actually, you could argue the residuals on EVs are actually better than the combustion engine cars relative to their new car price. So, and there's been loads of positive changes with EVs over the last 2 years in particular. So, they're becoming even more popular, and our order take even for 26 has increased again. So I'm sure we'll see a bigger share of the market for electric vehicles in 2026.
Okay, that's electric vehicles, and it sounds all pretty rosy in the garden, Eddie. What about imports and used cars? It certainly in November, imported used cars were up more than 28%. Why do you think so many buyers are turning to imports, perhaps rather than newer vehicles, or is that not the case?
To be honest, we don't see an awful lot of that. But the fact that we've multi-franchise dealership, and we would be able to account for a lot of used cars between all the brands we have. So we don't participate really in importing vehicles. You can see the figures say that they're back up again. Now, I suppose they're up from maybe a low place because obviously Brexit killed an awful lot of the imports coming in, especially from the UK. They're not as financially attractive as they were. 2021 brought in Brexit, so that obviously added a lot of additional charges and taxes to vehicles coming in from the UK. There are quite a number of vehicles coming in from Japan. They offer maybe a different type vehicle to the consumer, a lot more maybe automatics that have a lot more maybe older hybrid type vehicles and that which we wouldn't traditionally have had here in Ireland. So that probably helps those figures a bit. But the figures would have gone down if you look at the figures compared to where they were pre-2020. They wouldn't be as strong, obviously.
Yeah, Gary, can price be the main driver behind any sort of rise in imports? Do availability and choice also play a role? And and does a growth in imports, does it put extra pressure on main dealers?
Not really. I mean, what Eddie said there is probably right. I mean, it's more, you've seen a lot of cars coming in from Japan, and that's more to fill a gap in availability than it is actually price. So, that's what you're seeing. We've a used car business in Limerick, and we import a lot from the UK. I mean, the paperwork and the customs and everything you have to go through to actually import a car now, it's pretty prohibitive for the private importer if you're a private customer trying to do it. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of red tape to do it. So it is something that, like, you see a lot of other dealers, used car dealers, will be bringing in the Japanese cars, but it really is to fill a lack of availability of older cars at a certain price point, and that's really where it's coming from. It's definitely not based on price. It's more about availability.
Okay, Eddie, for the new year, I mean, the whole new registration plates and the splitting it up, the 1 and the 2, seems to have been a positive development, certainly from car sales. I mean, do you get many, or traditionally, or are you expecting many buyers in January specifically for the new registration plate? Did you receive many pre-orders for 261 registered cars?
Thankfully the pre-order bank is very, very strong, but it normally is, Alan, to be fair. People know that you have to wait for your car now. It's probably part of, since the semiconductor shortage and that, cars are not as readily available. So I think the consumer knows that you just really don't walk into the showroom now and get the exact car you want. So you'll see the manufacturers are advertising from October onwards for what we call quarter one, from January, February, March 2026. So the order banks start to fill from October onwards. That is a good system. It gives us a chance to get our cars on order. Gets the customer can get the colour and the model and the engine type they want. And the order bank is strong. And 2026, I'd agree absolutely there with Gary. 2026 looks to be every bit as good as 2025, and possibly maybe 5% better at this stage.
Yeah, Gary, was a similar situation for Pierce Motors. A lot of people getting their orders in for 261 registered cars.
Yeah, definitely like that. It's lead times now of cars are are much longer than they were in the past, in that the factories are much tighter, have much tighter controls in terms of production. The manufacturers have to manage the stock much more efficiently now. So, yeah, it's like, whilst we do have plenty of stock available for sale, you know, if you're looking for a bespoke order, or you're looking to add some extras to your car, you really need to get in as early as possible to allow for lead times that are slightly longer than they used to be. So, but yeah, all in all, I mean, it works very well. As Eddie said, it's not something that is a great challenge, and most of our customers are very used to it now. So, and then you've got the customer that will walk in and buy the car off the shelf, or that we have in the showroom. You know, there's plenty of that as well. So, hopefully that will, you know, the early months will continue that, the order take that we had, success we had earlier in October through to December. So, yeah, it all looks pretty reasonable at this moment in time.
Yeah, and I suppose you've generous incentives expected early in the year as well, Eddie. And from your perspective, you are multi-franchise as well. Sounds like it's going to be a very strong start to the new year for you.
Yeah, it's looking that way, thankfully. And yeah, but just going back to your earlier comments, they're actually on the government target, we'll say, of getting the EV vehicles down to, you know, they want 30% of the car park to be EV by 2030. There's definitely an opening there for a strong scrappage scheme. If you look at the car park that's out there at the minute, there is a huge amount of old vehicles out there. Just looking at a very, very quick stat there this morning, the government ran a scrappage scheme there in July 95, and they ran it until the end of 1997. They sold 65,000 new vehicles in Ireland in that term. That basically took 65,000 old vehicles off the road. You know, to get to the target where they want to get to with low emission vehicles, I definitely feel there is an opening for something like that to be done.
And Gary, you're a Volkswagen dealership. It does remain a top-selling brand nationally. The ID4 leads the EV market. Do you find that brand trust and familiarity can become more important, particularly in uncertain times? Definitely.
Like, I mean, you know, you when you buy the mass selling brands or the bigger selling brands, like, you're generally protected with stronger residual values, you know, because if most people are buying them new, most people wouldn't want to buy them used as well. So the demand is obviously higher. That's what we're blessed with. You know, we've always been blessed with pretty good, strong second-hand values of our cars, and that really helps when you're buying a new car as well, because obviously it matters what's the depreciation going to be over the life cycle of however you manage to keep the car. So yeah, it's a really important decision when you're buying what's it going to be worth in 3, 4, 5 years time, you know.
Just finally, Gary, what advice would you have for someone thinking of changing their car in the next 6 months or so? Buy now, wait, or explore all options?
Like, you know, if you're buying a new car, definitely now. The new car offers from the manufacturers are generally at their strongest in the earlier part of the year in terms of PCP, 0% PCPs, 0% HPs. Like, this is a really good time if you're buying a new car, because you will generally get the most competitive offer. So yeah, I mean, if you're going new, just do it as soon as possible. Really is my best advice. Would your
advice be along similar lines, Eddie?
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah, there are great offers there at the minute. 0% finance. Definitely the January offers, in my opinion, are never really beaten. Sometimes you get a pretty good offer for July, might be equally as good, but you are guaranteed the best offers are there for January, February, March. So it's definitely a good time to visit the showrooms.